Hi and welcome to Old Time Knowledge. Well, in this video, y'all, it's not fall yet, but it's getting there. And so that means we are thinking about fall flavors, at least I am. I want to make some I want to make some pumpkin loaf similar to the kind they have at Starbucks. My son loves the Starbucks pumpkin loaf, and I have a recipe that is very similar. So stick with me and we'll get right to it. All right. So first thing, obviously, I'm going to need is pumpkin. I opened this can of pumpkin yesterday. I have this really cool can opener that lets you take lids off in such a way that you can put them back on. I'll link it in the description below if you're interested, but I made some pumpkin waffles yesterday. They're pretty good. They're not as crispy as I like, but it's a good way to use some pumpkin if you want some different pumpkin flavored things. But this recipe calls for a cup of pumpkin. There's a cup of pumpkin. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 eggs. The eggshells always go in the compost. And a teaspoon of vanilla. This is my homemade vanilla extract. I will put in the description below how I make this. I use this in so many recipes, and it's way cheaper than buying little tiny bottles of vanilla extract at the store, and it tastes better too, I think. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just get these ingredients mixed together first. It does also call for a half a cup of canola oil. You can use coconut oil, you can use butter, you can use whatever kind of oil you prefer. It calls for 1.5 cups of sugar.
And it gets 1 3/4 cups of flour.
And then we have our other powdered ingredients. This calls for a lot of spices. If you don't have all of these spices, you can just use an equivalent amount of pumpkin pie spice. But first of all, there's the salt. It calls for half a teaspoon of salt. It calls for a teaspoon of baking soda. Then it calls for 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, a half tablespoon of cinnamon, a half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and a half a teaspoon of cloves. So I'm going to get this mixed in on top of the other powdered ingredients.
Now the goal when you get all of this in the bowl and you're mixing it is mix everything until it's well combined, but you're not mixing things until it's really smooth, because that's going to result in a tough end product. The same happens with pancakes and even biscuits and things like that. Keep a light hand with it.
I have to give the batter a taste. That's really good batter. Really, really good. I'm going to mix this a little bit more with this spatula just because that whisk was getting all the dough trapped inside. But I'm just wanting to make sure I've gotten everything scraped off of the edges, and we're good. Alright, so then you want a 9x5 loaf pan. Grease it or line it with parchment, either is fine. And then pour your batter in. I'm just kind of smoothing the top a little bit. Now the thing about the Starbucks pumpkin loaf is, let me get that up. The thing about the Starbucks pumpkin loaf is they put sunflower seeds on top, or pepitas, the little sunflower kernels. You want about a half a cup of these. Now I also use these for my homemade granola, which I'll probably do in a video sometime soon. But this adds a nice salty crispiness to the top. It just really is something special. So you just want to sprinkle it all over the top. I'm trying to make sure it gets on top as evenly as possible. There's one of the little sunflower hulls. Okay, and then you want to kind of press the sunflower seeds down into the top a little bit, because that's going to get it to really stick as the bread is rising in the pan. All right, so here's how it looks. It's going to go into my 350-degree oven, and this is going to bake for about an hour, maybe a little over an hour, but I'm just going to keep a check on it until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. So let me get it in the oven.
All right, here it is fresh out of the oven. I'm going to let this just cool in the pan for about 10 minutes before I try to take it out. So just let it rest on the counter for a little bit, and then it'll be time to take it out from the pan. All right, so 10 minutes has passed. I've gotten the pumpkin loaf out of the pan, and now I'm just going to leave it to cool for a while. It's so hot right now. You don't want to cut something like this when it's super hot. I'm just going to wait until the temperature comes down that it feels warm but not super hot, and then I will cut a slice and we'll give it a taste. All right, so this is nice and cool. It's not like cold, but it's much cooler than it was, so I think we're good to cut it and try a slice. So let me come right here. Here's how it looks. It looks nice and moist. I'm going to give this a taste. Y'all, this is so good. This is so amazing. I hope you make this. This will get you in the mood for fall. This is going to remind you of the Starbucks pumpkin loaf. I think you're going to love it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.